Hi guys, welcome back to Hot Mess Homeschool Mom. I can tell I never really know where to look into the camera. None of my videos are edited, and that's intentional because I want this to be real life. As cool as those videos I see are that are edited and look really polished, that's not me. What you see is what you get. You get a lot of ums, you get a lot of you knows, you get a lot of random weird faces. Anyway, the reason I wanted to talk to you guys tonight is something kind of near and dear to my heart. And that is the idea of treating your homeschool career as such, as a career. One thing, oddly enough, and some of you may have struggled, some of you may have not, you may have embraced it right away. One of the things that I initially struggled with in becoming a homeschool mom was my sense of identity. And I know that sounds really strange, but I have worked all of my life. I'm a college grad. Random fact about me, I actually was accepted into college early at the age of 16 because that was just my personality. I just was a go-getter. I wanted to have this crazy, awesome professional career. And, like I said, homeschooling was never in my 5-10 year plan. I wanted to have kids, I wanted to have a family, but I also was under this impression that I was going to do it all. I was going to continue in my career, raise my children, and initially put them through school. Anyway, so when the decision was made to homeschool, it was a decision I made wholeheartedly without any regrets, without any looking back necessarily. I trusted my soul. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew that's what was best for my children. But a part of myself was kind of like, well, okay. I didn't really necessarily do everything I wanted to do with my career, but that's okay. And then I had a sudden realization, and I don't want to say sudden because it wasn't sudden. It's taken me a couple of months to, not even a couple of months, initial few months in the beginning to kind of wrap my head around the fact that this was now my career. And although it is not a paid career, it is a career, and it is a very honorable, it is a very rewarding, and overall, it's the most important thing I will ever do in my entire life. And I really, really, once I got that through my head, that just because I wasn't making a paycheck didn't mean that I wasn't a professional. It kind of changed the way I did things and kind of changed the way I looked at things. And it also changed the way I approached my homeschooling. So as a professional, one of the things that is encouraged is professional development, and this idea that you are always constantly learning new things, you are constantly reading, you are putting yourself through courses, you are always trying to stay one step ahead of everything. You are always in the process of developing yourself into something so that you can attain the next level in your professional career. And that can be carried through into homeschooling. And so with that in mind, I wanted to share with you a few of the ways that I approached being a homeschool mom in light of being a professional. And one of the biggest things that I continuously do is to carve out time and to make time for myself to get better. And whether that be watching YouTube videos, which sounds crazy, but it's true. I mean, you can teach yourself anything watching YouTube videos. I'm teaching myself how to play the guitar using YouTube. You can learn how to build, spacecraft by using YouTube. So there's no shame in that. YouTube is a valuable resource, and I avail myself to it. But I always put it on my calendar, and I take professional development days, just like the kids in the public school system get half days because the teachers are going through professional development. There will be days that I tell my kids, listen, you know, mom's taking a PD day, and, you know, go do a worksheet, or, you know, you have a free day. Yay, they love those. They love when mom's, you know, professionally developing herself. So I'm going to share a couple of things that I used, a couple of books that I have read. And there's so many out there, but I'm just going to share a couple of my favorites. As some of you may know, I follow the classical model of home education. So the natural first step for any classical homeschooler is, of course, the well-trained mind. And as you can see, it's, you know, well-loved and bookmarked. And this is by Susan Weiss Bauer. This is the Bible of, well, classical education, but also it's pretty much a Bible for any homeschooler. It's a hefty read. I've read it a few times. I love this. I always come back to this. Even though I've read it, sometimes I'll be like, oh, what about that? And I'll refer back to it. So this, I have a shelf actually of all of my professional development books, which tend to be education, you know, all in the educational vein, etc. And this was the first one that I chose to read. So there's that one. If you have not read it, it is well worth the read. Please don't be intimidated. You can break it into little chunks. You can, you know, you can read it throughout a couple of years if you are so inclined, especially if you are a classical homeschooler. This is awesome. So another one that I tend to read or reread frequently is this one. This is one of my favorites. So this is called Teaching from Rest by Sarah Mackenzie, and she is also a blogger. This is, I believe, also it is published by Classical Academic Press. I did not know this when I purchased it off of Amazon. I purchased it because if you are any self-respecting homeschooler and you look up homeschooling, you know, how-tos, this shows up pretty much top of the list in Amazon. So I picked it up, and this is, again, it's a tiny little read. The chapters are pretty short. There's pictures. There's some motivational quotes. But this centers me. When I sometimes feel like I'm doing too much, I need to take a breath. I need to get back to the reasons I'm homeschooling, and things just get a little crazy. I refer back to this. And Sarah Mackenzie is fantastic. If you don't follow her, please do. She's amazing. She's got, I think, 6 kids. I mean, she does it all, and she's a great writer. So this was another staple on my professional development reading list. Also by Sarah Mackenzie, and this one's new. I haven't finished this one yet. I keep meaning to. I've got like 4 books going right now. So what I've read so far of this one is fantastic. It's called The Read Aloud Family, also by Sarah Mackenzie. She's adorable. But this is the idea of reading aloud to your children and the benefits behind it. There's some really good book suggestions in there. And just her voice, her writing voice just gets right to you, and gets you in the feels, and highly recommended. So that's another one by Sarah Mackenzie. So I enjoy her quite a bit. In that same vein of bloggers who write awesome books, I keep talking about Pam Barnhill. She just came out with a new one called Better Together. This is including morning time, which we have recently incorporated, and I'm not going to get too deep into morning time. It's really good. Check it out. Not only read the book, but check out how morning time can start your day off, start your homeschool day off on a really, really positive note, strengthen your family, simplify your homeschool, and savor the subjects that matter most. So from what I read this a couple months ago, but from what I remember from this, it's about quality over quantity, and really analyzing what you're doing in your homeschool, and if it's working for you. and Pam, if you see this and I completely butchered that synopsis of your book, I'm so sorry, but that's what I got out of it. So again, check this one out. She's a fantastic blogger and also a fantastic author. So this is another one that I read to kind of center myself and educate myself on how better to streamline my homeschool. Another blogger. I seem to, although I have to say, a lot of the homeschooling books out there are by bloggers, and they're fantastic bloggers. And there's a reason that they have book deals, because they're fantastic writers. And another one is by Julie Bogart of Brave Writer. So some of you may know the Brave Writer program. I have not utilized it. I have to be completely honest. I have a writing program that I'm using through Classical Academic Press that's working for me, and I love it. And I hear fantastic things about Brave Writer, but I haven't ventured down it because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now what I have is working for me. So until it no longer does, I'm going to stick with that program. But if you're looking for a writing program, check out Brave Writer. There's some good stuff. She writes, these are probably one of my favorites, in that they're educational, of course, and they give you great tips, of course, but they're like talking to a friend. And sometimes that's really helpful. Sometimes homeschooling can be really lonely sometimes. I mean, the majority of my friends, actually, all of my friends that have kids, prior to homeschooling, had them in the public school system, and they still do. So beyond your circle and your tribe of homeschool friends, it can get a little bit lonely. So reading these, at night with a cup of tea, is helpful. It's good for your soul, and it's good to know you're not the only one dealing with XYZ. You're not the only one feeling a certain way about a certain thing. You're not the only one that needs reassurance to just keep going, and you're doing well. So these are pretty well, and she does them by season. So I'm rereading the fall edition right now. I've read them all, but I'm rereading them because they're really helpful. And again, they're good for my professional development. They're good for keeping me in a good headspace to keep going, and with my homeschool and with myself in general. So with these, they're just little snippets, and they're about a bunch of different subjects. There's like a quote of the day, which are really cool. But there's little tiny, oh, look at that. Sometimes your life doesn't work out how you planned it, line by line, promise by promise, heartbeat by heartbeat. So sometimes they're very eerily relevant to whatever you're feeling that day. And you can do them by day. They're short. It takes me maybe 5 minutes to read them. Sometimes I'll wake up early, grab a cup of tea and just sit down and read it and get my headspace in a good way. And these are really, they're enjoyable, but I also consider them professional development because there's some really cool, helpful tips in here. Some of them apply to me, some of them I can utilize, some of them I can't, and that's okay. But check these out. They're called A Gracious Space, and there's either fall edition, spring edition, or winter edition. So the winter edition, I look forward to cuddling up on my couch with a blanket and some cozy socks and digging into that one. So another blogger that writes some PD books. So off the vein of bloggers, here's one more book that I really, really enjoyed. It is called Legendary Learning, The Famous Homeschooler's Guide to Self-Directed Excellence. And this is a compendium of famous homeschoolers that you may or may not know of, and how they learned. And to know that some of the most brilliant minds our species has ever known were homeschooled, remind you why you do this. Remind you why you're off the beaten path. Remind you that, the road everybody else is taking doesn't work for everybody. And, not everybody's kid is a genius. Not everybody's kid is the next Edison or the next Einstein or, you know, any of the other people in here. Many people that were homeschooled in here. But it reminds you that your child is unique and has a unique learning style, and that your mission, your goal, your purpose is to what's the word, support it, to provide an environment where they can flourish. And this is a very helpful reminder of that. So I enjoy that. I've only read this one once. Again, I've got several books, multiple books going right now. So I have not gotten back around to this one. But if you have not checked it out, please do. There's one out there that I'm itching to look at, and I believe it's called A Thomas Jefferson Education. You might want to double check or fact check me on that. It's either a Thomas Jefferson education or a Thomas Edison education. And I want to say it's Thomas Jefferson, but I could be wrong. But same idea. They were both homeschooled, so it could be either or. But I know it's on my Amazon cart that will eventually make it into the buy button. But that's another one I want to check out. Another one, John Holt. If you look up John Holt, you can definitely check out. He's got a million of them. I have not ventured down the John Holt road yet. There's so much to read. There's so much good stuff out there. And I look forward to continuing my professional education in homeschooling by reading them. The last thing I want to touch upon briefly in my professional development library is, you guessed it, Classical Academic Press. They make a cool little series about classical education. Here's one, An Introduction to Classical Education, short little tiny read. I'm trying to get my husband to read this one. He's not a huge reader of books. So this is short and sweet, and kind of hopefully will give him the bullet points of all of the things I've read about classical education that I'm constantly, like, I don't know, yapping to him about. So this is a good little starter piece from them. There's also an entire series about giants in the history of education. I grabbed one. If I grabbed my whole library, we'd be here all night. But Plato, there's one on C.S. Lewis. There's a few of them. I believe you can get them in a package. They have some sales on them occasionally, usually around the holidays. I think it's a 4 or 5 pack, but I really enjoyed these. And it's all, again, pretty self-explanatory. Giants in the history of education, their thoughts, their philosophies, and you may be thinking to yourself, why do I need to know that? Well, because there's a reason they were giants in the history of education, and there is a reason that their theories and their practices are still used today. So reading up on them can only help. And, you know, whether they're relevant to you or not, if you're an unschooler, maybe they're not relevant to you. But again, all in the vein of professional development, when you are in a professional development class, not everything you learn you can apply to your career, but it is still helpful to know in the long run. So I do encourage these, the liberal arts tradition. Again, just more professional development things. This one I like, the Classical Reader. This is kind of a reference book, not necessarily a professional development book. This is a list of books by age for the college-bound student. One day I'll get there. But it's really cool. So by age, what your children should be reading if they're in the classical. Wow, you can tell it's a late night video. My words are, whoo. What they should be reading if they're a classically educated student. There you go, I got it out. So that's that, and it's really helpful. They have kindergarten all the way up to obviously college. So I'll refer back to this. Shakespeare, we did a Shakespeare unit. I'll do a video on that because I found a really cool curriculum for that my daughter was like obsessed with. So I'm definitely going to share that. So yeah, so that I just keep this on the shelf. If I'm struggling, not struggling, if my kid's like, oh, I'm done with the book, now what? I can go on here, look up a few different ones, you know, order them on Amazon, and they're here 2 days later. Oh, this is going to be a fun video for you guys to get to, especially because I don't edit. So that's just a basic overview of some books I keep on the shelf as far as professional development. There's other things. You can go to homeschool conventions. There are some awesome speakers. I can't wait to get to one. There has not been one in my area that I have been able to attend. There's a few speakers that I'm dying to see. Sarah McKenzie, Dr. Christopher Perrin. There's a few of them, and other great names. They will come to the homeschool conventions, and you can listen to their seminars and again, enrich your homeschool. So if there's some in your area, please try to make it to one. They also have curriculum providers. They'll have like a huge exhibit hall, from what I understand. And my fascination with touch and feeling, you know, looking at all the curriculum, they will have booths where you can actually do that. So that's another reason I'm dying to get to one. My husband, not so keen on the idea, because I'm sure he just sees, you know, dollar signs when he hears me talk about that. But one day I will get to one, and I can't wait to check those out. So bottom line, just to kind of wrap this up, always keep learning. Always make time for yourself to learn more. It's easy to get sucked into the responsibility of teaching your children, and it's easy to lose sight of the fact that in the day-to-day, because it can get tough day-to-day, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that yes, this is a calling, but it's also a career. And paid or not, I want to be the best at what I do to the best of my ability. So hot mess or not, again, my drive is always to be better. So make professional development for yourself a priority. Make yourself a priority. And, you know, I know it's hard to do. I know there's not a lot of time. But carve out that time. You know, if you have to give the kids a free day, sit down with a book. If they see you reading a book, you know, again, they might pick up a book too. If they see mom doing it, you know, it breeds the same style. They imitate what they see. So invest in yourself. Invest in your career, of investing in your children. And that's kind of my final thought for tonight. Let me know if you have any comments, any books you'd like to add to that list that you are obsessed with, that you thoroughly enjoy, that you think should be on this list, that you think I should read. I am always open to book suggestions. So leave them in the comments below. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. Please like the video, and I look forward to seeing you guys back here at hotmesshomeschoolmom.com, my blog, but also here on YouTube. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Talk to you soon.